Alright, what's up, pilots? Just gonna go over a little quick fun little playing around you can do with your plane with different designs and stuff like that. Basically, this is if you got an airbrush. Well, if you got an airbrush, you probably already are doing this kind of stuff. But if you don't, and you're looking at getting one, this is some of the stuff you can do that's really easy. It gives you a really cool look. Also, there's a lot of very inexpensive airbrushes out there. If you don't, have the money for a good one, there's a lot of, and even some of the smaller ones, cheap ones are good. Trust me, I've seen some $19 ones, dual actions that were just awesome. So, if you want to play around a little bit, they even sell testers. Even sells a little kit that comes with its own can of air, airbrush, and several colors. So you can play around with something like that, and it'll do what we're about to do here just perfect. So basically, what we're going to do is transfer this image. We're going to put this onto, say, a plane, a wing, side of a wing. I'm basically going to do it on another piece of cardboard. I was just going to show you the design before I got started on it. What I have to do here is cut out every piece of black on this design except for the outline. I will not cut out the outline. That'll be hand airbrushed on, but as far as every other little piece of black on here, it will all get cut out. All around the teeth, nose, mouth, eyes, skull, everything will get cut out. So basically, the way I mount this is I get a piece of cardboard and I fold it inwards and bend it on the edges in and just kind of round it. I don't actually fold it. I just kind of round it up to where you have this look here, kind of lifted up on the ends. Then I go ahead and get the picture on as tight as I can, press it down really well, and I go ahead and tape it off. So once I do that, I'll have both hands with me when I'm doing this, but you'll just put a hand on each side and you'll basically just give it a bend back in the opposite direction and kind of tighten. And what it does is just tighten the image down onto the cardboard. So all I'm using the cardboard for is just a backup to not cut up the table, but I'm going to get started on cutting this out. And after we get done cutting this out, I am going to start putting it on something. I may even put it on a wing I've got over here. Might be pretty cool, so we might throw it on a wing and see how she looks. But we'll get to airbrushing it. I'm actually going to use a very cheap airbrush for this, just to show you guys, and then I'll do some freehand airbrushing. What I'll probably do is go ahead and lay down some real flames behind it before I lay this down. So we'll put some flames behind it, kind of making it look like he's got flames behind his head and everything, and do that freehand. And then we'll go ahead and put this down and just do a basic stencil spray and kind of show you guys what not to do, and just little things I've learned along the way. I am by no means a excellent airbrusher. It's a lot of fun to do. I enjoy it. I'm learning a lot of stuff as I do it, so just sharing a little bit of things that I've figured out and learned along the way. So guys, stay tuned. There should be some cool stuff coming up. Alright, pilots, welcome back. Now, part one is done, and that is the most tedious part. There's a reason why these stencils cost so much money, because they're usually laser cut, water cut, depends on the material they're made out of. But this one was completely hand cut with me and an X-Acto knife. I've got everything nicked out. Everything that was black is now completely cut out and removed. There were a couple of areas that I left, like that little piece right there was very, very small. I wasn't going to take a chance with it simply because I can add that in with a artist brush, just like this little piece right here. But all the black is cut out except for the outline. Remember, the outline will be done by hand. But try and hold her up to the light here. Not that it'll probably help you guys at all, but maybe. Let me kick my light off. You kind of see where everything's at. It has been completely cut out everywhere. So that is the step. That's the grueling, not very much fun step. Starts out fun, but it gets old real quick. So now we are ready to start airbrushing. So I'm going to take this off, put it on probably a piece of cardboard or a foam board or something like that, and go ahead and put my first spray down. I'm going to do a real light spray on it, and my hopes are that upon the spray hardening, I might be able to get a second shot or a second use out of this stencil. We'll just have to see how much of the holes it fills. So I'm gonna go ahead and thin out the paint a little bit for the airbrush. And since I am painting, you know, these types of paints go on my EPO style planes, foam planes. I'm using alcohol to thin the paint, not thinner. So alcohol, paint, airbrush, and go to town. So there we go. The time crazy part is done. So we are ready to see if we can make this thing look wicked on paper and then on foam. So stick around. I'll be back after I get this shot.
Alright guys, well, we've got her cut out, got her mounted, basically on a piece of foam board. Now I did not, usually you would want to stick the entire thing down with you know, M77, 3M77, like sticky spray or something like that. I'm gonna try and get this first one here to, you know, to turn out pretty good. But if it doesn't, that's okay, because I wanted to get a layer of a spray over the paper here. And I'm gonna see if I can actually make one of these paper stencils last more than 1 or 2 sprays. So we'll see from there. Okay, so here's what we started out with. Right here, there is the full cutout. Remember, cut out everything on there that was black except for the outline. That'll be done afterwards. But that's what we started out with, and that's what we ended up with. So, a little bit of work there, but hey, it was fun. So, we'll get going here. And just to show you guys that you don't have to spend a lot of money to airbrush, because I definitely don't, I am using this little thing right here, the Amazing Air from Testers. Basically, all this is an airbrush that fits onto your typical enamel and acrylic modeling paints. Let me get this in here, press the handle here, and sprays out like an airbrush. Now, the tip is adjustable for wide and lower spray. So basically I'll do a couple real light coats from a good distance on this, not too far because I don't want to mist it. That'll let it get down in some of the crevices there, but this is all I'm doing it with, guys. It's a $20 little kit, came with a bunch of paints, and I already had a ton anyways for scaling. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to get my spray set up here kind of behind the camera, get it to the amount I want, and then we will start the spray. Now I did go ahead and tape down a couple areas on the stencil here. I taped right below the eye, a very small piece, right here by one of the teeth, right here on this side of the jaw. Now that I'll just go back in with a hand brush and hand brush that in when we're done. But let me go ahead and get this spray going, and we will get to spraying her out. Alright, I like the way she's coming out, so we'll go ahead and get started. Alright, I'm going to let that coat sit for a second. Now I'm using acrylic. It will dry pretty quick, so I'm going to go ahead and give her a little bit heavier. And now I'm just going to go with some of the angles here. Alright guys, we're going to call that coat number 1. So we'll be back in just a minute. Alright, we're back guys. Got the spray down. I went ahead and put a couple more very light but darker coats. Adjusted the nozzle for a little bit more spray. And remember, I did not put this down with basically the spray-on sticky you put on the back of the stencils. Lots of different brands of it. I didn't use that. I actually wanted to go with hopefully a little bit of overspray. I ended up with a little bit, 1 or 2 areas a little bit more than I wanted. So here's what we've got so far. Let me get the light on for you. Alright. And that is what we have ended up with. Okay. I'm trying to hold it at an angle so the light doesn't kill it on you. I've already touched up the spots where I put the paint. Okay, now you're saying that looks kind of funny if you've never airbrushed before, stenciled before. That's because there's still a big part missing. Remember, we cut out all the black on that picture, okay? So the next step, and the parts I touched up aren't quite dry yet, so I'm not going to actually lay this on there. But the next step will be you take the exact same style of picture, exact same printout, same size, same everything, and this time you cut out the edges, okay? You don't cut out any of the black in the middle, anything at all. All you do is cut the outline of the skull out, okay? So once this is dry, what I'll simply do is place this over the top like this, okay? And I will pin that down again with a couple very, very small pieces, possibly even a couple little T-pins. And once that is down, I will continue to spray, and I will cover the rest of the board in, I'm going to go with black, so the rest of the board in black, okay? Now when that is all done and you lift this up, it'll be all black except for all the outline of the head, of the facial features, and everything like that. Now, the overspray I was wanting, guys, was about like that, okay? Kind of a little ghostly overspray effect, because most of the time you go back and end up doing that anyways. Now right here's where I got a little bit more than I wanted, mainly that eye right there on the edge. So what I may do before I lay down the stencil over the top of it again, just the frame cutout, is I may go in with a brush and just sharpen that eye up a little bit, maybe sharpen that inner nose up a little bit, and maybe clean up that first little part of the long tooth there. So that'll be the first little, you know, parts to mess with. Now the parts back here, that's pretty much exactly what I wanted. I kept lifted up the areas that I wanted it to shade away, and the areas where I wanted it a little sharper is where the areas I kept taped down. So turned out pretty good. Now remember, you can get a perfectly sharp image, guys, by using the spray tack to put your pattern to whatever you're painting. I'm just doing kind of a quick thing for you guys here, and doing a little bit of my own testing too. So I just didn't do that, and I not the best at shadowing yet, but saw this little trick on the net of how to get away with some shadowing around your sharp edges, such as right here around this part here. What I did was, when I cut this out and got it all ready there, okay, I just lifted a little bit of it and just gave it a little bit of a lift and played with it a little bit and set it back down and pushed it back down flat. And by doing that, when I sprayed directly straight at the image, what that did was allow a little bit of overspray to get it in there to give me my shadowing on all my arches, or else I would have had to go back in on all these arches and shadow all those areas. Okay, so that's what we got going on right now. Now the teeth and all that I wanted to keep pretty sharp and pretty straight, which is why I taped down in that area. So I got that, but like I said, that's the only part I'm like, you know, I think it still looks pretty darn cool. And when we're done, I promise you guys it'll look awesome. So and this was all done, like I said, guys, with a simple, here's the kit. I didn't get a chance to show you guys that. Let me back out a little bit. Now I've added a lot of my regular paints to it, but this is the basic kit, guys. This is just a little amazing air kit from Testors. It comes with a few bottles of Testors, 4 nozzles, 4 tubes, and these nozzles are pretty cool here. I'll show you the airbrush first. Now here's the airbrush. Okay. And it is just an adjustable nozzle here. Okay, there's your trigger there. It has a nice grip to fit the palm of your hand there. I mean, this thing's cheap, guys, but it's pretty impressive for being a little cheapo. It comes with a little 6-ounce can of air, which you can see I went through a long time ago. So now I actually run it off of the Pache number 17 canned air. Now this is nothing special, get whatever kind you guys like, but try and go with the bigger cans. The bigger the can, the much better the pressure you're gonna get. And if you're doing something a little bit larger than what I was doing, you'll want to fill a bowl up with pretty warm water, not hot but pretty warm, and set your canned air. Never, from the time you get ready to start painting, never tilt, shake, anything like that, just leave it alone. But set your canned air in a little pot or bowl or something of warm water, because if you're going to be doing a lot of spraying, and you know, say you've got all 4 nozzles, and I've had a couple kits, so I've got a bunch more nozzles, but more nozzles, you know, 4 or 5 paint different colors out that you're going to be messing with, and you're switching back and forth and back and forth. This can, just like air that blows off your keyboard on your computer or whatever, it'll start to get very, very cold, and the colder it gets, the less pressure you're going to get out of your gun. So if you keep it in a little bowl with some warm water, it'll helps out a lot when you're using a can airbrush system instead of a compressor system. So that's pretty much the kit there, guys. Now underneath here, like I said, I went ahead and, you know, put my layers on, and then I immediately got another piece of foam board, put it over the top, and right now I've got foam board over the top with some heavy cans on top, and what I'm going to try and do is flatten that out and just let her dry flat, and that way there's a good possibility I can use that again and it'll actually be stronger next time. Now over here are this is the nozzle piece here, and I've cleaned it up pretty good here, ran it through, just letting it dry a little bit. Now this is how it works. So this is basically, you buy any of those little bottles of tester's paint that you want, the little square ones, and these things just screw right on the top of them, okay? And if I've got it here, yeah, here it is. Okay, and then this right here just goes right in the bottom there, and then it goes down into the little bottle of paint. That little wire is a cleaner for cleaning out the very small tips there. Okay, and that just goes in there, screws onto the bottle, and then the bottle snaps onto the airbrush I showed you a second ago. And that's all there is to it. And then you can play around with the needle adjustment on the end to get a wider spray. As you can tell, where I went with a heavier spray right here, you can see that it gave me a heavier spray, and with that was actually a little close on that, so I think I may have fluttered the stencil a little bit. But like I said, I don't think it turned out too bad, and I am going to go ahead and just touch it up a little bit and make her look just a little bit sharper, kind of like the eye there. So once again, we'll be back on this multi-parter as soon as this dries up, and I will get the final layer put over the top there and match it up perfectly, put her down nice and tight, and finish spraying her off black, and then we will have an all black foam. This is foam board, by the way, all black foam with a pretty cool kind of ghost white skull in the middle, so stick around. Alright guys, last step here and we will be done with the finished product. Now I was waiting on a lot of this to dry. I went into some of the areas that I wanted to work a little bit and cleaned them up a little bit. A little bit sharper tooth, added some of the areas that didn't come through just as clear. Worked on the eye a little bit, sharpened it up around in the eye, and darkened it up a little bit there. That was pretty much about it. So now we're gonna basically get the opposite cut out, which is where we just cut out the face and not the anything on the inside, and basically just line it up best as we can here. I'm just gonna try and line up some of my markers. I've actually found that if I hold this up to the light, I can see through it good enough, so let me get that lined up. Alright, almost got her here. Let's see. Alright, I think that's it. Alright. I'm going to call that lined up right there. What I decided to do is go ahead and just T-pin it in. I'm not going to make a big deal there, so I'm using foam board. So we'll get another one here. Pull it straight down and get it T-pinned in the bottom. I'm gonna grab 2 more, 1 for each side. Alright, so go right over here, drop a T-pin in, and then right over here by the eye. I'm gonna go ahead and drop one in right top of the cheek there. Okay, and I may end up, I don't know, putting 1 or 2 more in, depending on what I see, but I'm going to spray this out in the garage because this one's going to take an overspray, or I'll have to clear the whole entire border here. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and when I get back, probably while I'm out there, I'll go ahead and throw a gloss coat on, and when I get back we should have the finished design on the foam. So we'll see how it turned out. So last step coming up, guys. Stick around.
Alright pilots, and the final product. There we go. That's only with one gloss coat on. I just put one simple gloss coat on there, as you can see. So it turned out pretty good. I've got quite a few more of these I can cut out and play around with. I'm going to go ahead and do a test on an actual wing on my F4F, since I have it already painted all black with that latex based paint. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot on that, because that's not going to stay black. I'm painting that one scale, so that one's going to actually get completely changed. So I figured maybe a deep red thick racing stripe of about the thickness of this right here, and then I'll be getting into the multi-layered stuff, which I'd have to cover in another video. That's where you actually do everything kind of opposite and backwards and different, and you use actually three things. If you remember, we used the full stencil that we cut out all the black on, okay, and that's how we got all our detail. And then we used another print where we just cut out the border, the outline of the skull, okay, and so that leaves you with the piece of paper that you cut the outline out with very carefully. That leaves you an exact opposite of the one we filled with. So when I do the wing, since the wing is already solid black, obviously I can't do black like this without putting a different color down or choosing a different color to do here. But the easiest way to do it is just to use the piece of paper that I used to cut the outline of the skull out, and I can use it on a, let's say, black, and spray paint, you know, white, or even mix up some, oh sorry guys, even mix up some colors to give it kind of that tan bone skull look, and spray that on there with the paper that I cut the outline out with, and just put that on there, spray that, and then all I have to do is actually lay the stencil part back on and choose my colors and spray that on there. So that's pretty much all there is to it, but there she is. Thought she turned out pretty good. If I can get get these light glares off of it. There we go, guys. But yeah, that was just you know, the longest part of this process was cutting out the stencil, and really happy with it. Wish I'd done it on something other than foam board. As you can see, I got some if I can focus, let me focus in here for you guys. Got some little dents up there and around there, but that's just